York's classic rock, Q1043.
I was just outside on the sidewalk enjoying a breath of fresh air. And who was walking down the street? It was Tim Matheson.
Hello.
A real live movie star.
You got $5? Come on.
And his book, Damn Glad to Meet You, My 7 Decades in the Hollywood Trenches, will be released tomorrow. It's published by Hachette. Today is November 11th. Today is Veterans Day. Yesterday was the 249th anniversary of the United States Marine Corps. And you, Mr. Matheson, are a Marine.
Yes, I am a Marine.
And in your book, you actually went into some detail. I mean, a lot of the Marine era was funny because you're writing funny stuff in this book, but a lot of it had to do with what you learned as a Marine that has helped you cope with life in many different ways ever since.
Jim, you're absolutely right. I was this sort of, I was a spoiled kid from the San Fernando Valley, and all of a sudden I'm down in Marine Corps boot camp and MCRD in San Diego, and it grows you up real fast. And I sort of took command on my own because I like being, I like getting involved.
Well, you were a squad leader.
I was a squad leader, and I was PFC out of boot camp, and so it taught me to take charge of a situation, and it also included me in a brotherhood, a family of men and women that exists to this day. And I kind of think that we would be better off as a country if we had some sort of service for everybody for a year or two, whether it be the Peace Corps or the Job Corps or whatever, and a bit of service. I think it would be great for us all, to have that connection to our country.
Well, I read all 372 pages of your book.
Oh, my gosh.
And
Thank you so much.
It is really terrific. And I was talking with Shelley earlier this morning. She loves the book, too. And there's, what you just heard, there was a truck driving by Shelley's house. She has the windows
A speeding
open.
car.
Is it delivery? What do you
there's 372 pages in this book, and you can't wait to get to the next page. But there's also a book within the book, which I thought was interesting, and that's the film school
boot camp. Yes.
And every once in a while, you come across a new page in that book. It was very, very interesting.
Oh, thank you. I learned on the job and as an actor, and only started studying, in my mid-20s. And so I would basically get by on what I learned on the set, and I wanted to just recount all of the mistakes that I made and advise young actors, directors, or writers or whatever, just don't step in this pothole and avoid that confrontation and avoid, And I learned really that the entire crew is a family, and they're all there to help, and they're all there equally as important as you think you are. And it's best to be pals with all of them.
And back to the
you described yourself as a spoiled kid, but to me you were anything but, because you went into acting not only because of your love for TV, but to support your family. That's not a spoiled kid, Tim Matheson.
Well, no, thank you. I mean, I worked hard, and I strive to make money and take care of help my family. As my mom worked.
Your mom and your sister.
My mom and my sister, we lived together, and it was a broken home that my parents got divorced, and my mother worked 2 jobs, full time, 80 hours a week to just sort of make ends meet. And
but it was tough to make ends meet. She had to sleep on the couch while you and your sister got the bedroom.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So the money that you brought in from working as a kid really contributed toward keeping your family afloat.
It helped. Yes, it did. I convinced my mom to buy a 1957 Ford Fairlane. I think it was $7 down and
There just went, apparently.
Okay, it could have just went. $7 down and $7 a month. I think it was. And I said, we can afford that. Come on.
But you're a little kid. You're a young kid. You're hanging out with the Beeve. You're working with Lucille Ball. Henry Fonda gives you advice. I mean, this is pretty incredible. It's an incredible tale.
Oh, I was so lucky to be in the right place at the right time. Lucy actually, I think she, I had to audition like 5 times to get into Yours, Mine, and Ours, and she was at every audition, and she thought I was a good actor, but I was a little bit too sensitive. I was too shy, and so she tried to toughen me up, and because she was tough. When you came on the set, there was no chit chat, there was no anything but work.
And make sure you rehearse with the props.
Exactly. Which is it was a great lesson. She screamed at all of us kids in one scene. It was all about props. And if you're going to do a big comedy scene like Lucy does, you have to know. You have to have done it 100 times to make it look like you've never done it before. So it was a great lesson. And Henry was a different kind of actor. He was just. Basically I said, how do you approach how do you act? What's acting to you? And he goes, well, you just sort of walk in the room, you hit your mark, you look them in the eye, and you tell them the truth.
Well, you mentioned Yours, Mine, and Ours. And while you were in the Marine Corps, you downplayed the fact that you were an actor and a kind of successful young actor. You downplayed that. You didn't want the other people to know, especially the dude from the south side of Chicago. But you were outed. You were outed because they needed you for the Ed Sullivan Show. Yeah. So they needed, 4 days leave?
Yes.
4 days leave to come from San Diego to New York to do the Ed Sullivan Show. When it was first presented to you, you said no, you couldn't. But then Bob Hope intervened.
Bob Hope, had done so many USO shows all through World War II and Korea and certainly Vietnam, and he was a strong supporter of the troops and entertaining the troops. Wonderful man. And he just called up the head of the Marine Corps.
Because Lucille Ball called him.
Yeah, Lucy called him and said, do me a favor, Bob, can you get him out just for 4 days to do the Sullivan Show? Because all the kids were going to be on the show.
Right.
And so he said, let's see what I can do. He called the commandant of the Marine Corps and said, sir, can you do me a favor? And she said, what are you going to say, no to Bob Hope? Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden a car shows up and I'm whisked away to New York. I had $1. I mean, because on base you didn't need any money. Mm-hmm. I had $1 in my pocket when I arrived in New York, and I couldn't even buy a breakfast. I think I went down to Chock full of nuts for breakfast, and because I was staying at the Plaza Hotel, and I couldn't afford anything at the Plaza Hotel. So that was it.
And you were on the Ed Sullivan Show, but the movie was also shown at the movie theater on base.
Oh yes.
So you were screwed.
But you know what? None of the other boot camp guys or DIs went to the movies. So fortunately, they didn't see it, and then I didn't see anybody who did see it. So I still dodged that bullet until Bob Hope came along.
It's 7:13. Tim Matheson is with us. We'll be right back. Tim Matheson is with us. Damn Glad to Meet You is the book. It's going to be released tomorrow. I read it. Shelley read it. Shelley, what was your favorite part of the book?
I loved the way you left the Marines Reserve. I think no one in history has your story, so why don't you share it with us?
Well, I was when I got off active duty, I returned to my reserve unit in Los Angeles, and I went back to being an actor, and I was it was like 1967, 68, so there were a lot of young counterculture parts in the television program, so I let my hair grow, and I let it grow out, and it grew pretty long. But when I had to go to my reserve meeting on the 1 weekend a month, I put on a short hair wig that I borrowed from Universal, where I was under contract, and it was fine. I got away with it for 2 days a month, and until summer camp came along 1 year, and I couldn't go to summer camp, and then I was making up the summer camp at the headquarters of my reserve unit, and I was there every day, and these guys could see me every day, the officers, and some big gunny sergeant was just some old salt, charged out of his office and tackled me in the hallway and ripped my wig off and said, "You commie hippie bum," and outed me to my officer, my captain, and I finally had to write to my Senator Alan Cranston at the time said, "Hey, this is my livelihood. I mean, it's only 2 days a month. Give me a break here." So they released me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they threw me out.
Well,
A hair
they didn't
release.
throw you out. You make that sound. You make that sound worse than it is. They let you out. It was
Yes.
because of your professional
It would-
obligations
Because of the
and-
hair.
and
Yes.
so on and so forth.
It would be so nice if you weren't here, you know.
Well, that's okay. I've had my own hair difficulties in my life. There was, one of the things that I wanted to say to you after having read this book is that I learned so much about you reading this book, but strangely enough, I learned some things about myself reading this book. Because many of us go through similar situations in life, and often we're not as introspective as we should be. And when we read someone else's account of something that we unexpectedly can relate to, it has an effect upon ourselves. And I got some of that from your book.
You did.
Your book helped me understand me better.
Well, which wall did I run into that you ran into?
Well, you've got successes, you've got failures,
Yes,
but
yes.
also, problems with personal life
Yes,
and things like that,
Yeah.
and the way that you deal with it, and regrets that you have, and so on and so forth. And this is a really honest book.
Thank you.
It's a very honest book, and you've had a lot of failures and hard knocks as well as the successes, but here at this point in your life, you've got like the most popular TV show around. But what, season 8 now?
So we got picked up for 7.
Picked up for 7.
6 comes out December 19th
Uh-huh.
on Netflix. It's called Virgin River, and it's a very popular show. And it's a wonderful group of people. We shoot up in Vancouver, British Columbia. And we'll be going back up there in March to start season 7.
Yeah, and when you got that job, you found yourself working with an old friend.
Yes, Annette O'Toole plays my wife, who won't divorce me, but won't have anything to do with me because I cheated on her like 40 years ago, and so then we resolved that and repair the damage done from that infidelity.
Mm-hmm. Parts of your real life would make a movie, but one that everyone would believe was fiction, not reality. I mean, just if anybody buys the book, read about his 33rd birthday. I mean, it sounds like somebody wrote that script, pulled it out of their imagination, saying to themselves, "This could never happen in real life."
What a day!
But it did.
Yes.
I think people will really enjoy this. This has, I mean, I don't want to blow smoke or anything, but I read a lot of books. This book, I watched obviously Animal House along with everybody in the rest of the world.
Yeah, I mean, top 5 movies of all time.
And I when I first saw it in the theater in the 70s, I was laughing out loud. Who knew that in 2024, Animal House would make me laugh out loud again with a description in your book of a scene that didn't even make the movie? And that would be the hitchhiking scene.
Oh gosh, that's so wonderful, Jim.
Can you let our friends know about the hitchhiking scene?
Please tell me about the hitchhiking scene.
There was a scene in the movie on when Otter and Boone, my character was Otter and Boone was Peter Riegert, and I think Pinto and Flounder, and we all go on a road trip. And we're driving along the highway, and there's some scruffy hitchhiker on the side of the road. He's got a guitar case and a sign that says "New York or Bust." And the car slams on the brakes and backs up, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to New York, going to visit Woody Guthrie. Can I get a ride?" And I said, "Yeah, come on, Slick, hop in." So being college kids, we said, "Yeah, sure." And so the kid gets in, and he said, "What's your name?" And he goes, Bob Zimmerman. And I said, I looked at Peter Riegert's character, and I said, "Articulate son of a bitch, right?" And he said, "Do you want me to play you a song?" And we said, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." He goes, "Hey, Woody Guthrie, I wrote you this song." And the car slams on the brakes. out throws the guitar, out throws him, and we just took off and dumped up by the side of the road.
Yes, and left the future Bob Dylan right there by the side of the road.
Oh, my
Pure
goodness.
lampoon.
That was hilariously funny. And of course, that character Otter, among your many other characters like the Vice President on the West Wing and the other series that you've starred in or been a guest star in or a co-star in, and things that you've directed. I mean, you had just an incredible career, but Otter's with you forever. You had the Otter bump, of course, right after the movie was such a big success. But regardless of what's happened in your career, Otter's always there, to the point where when you were placing your father's ashes in the ocean, the captain of the boat came over to you while you were doing that and asked you what it was like to work with Belushi.
Oh my God.
It was my father never understood what I did and how show business worked, and I tried to explain, because people would come up and talk to me and interrupt us and, hey, I like that thing you did. Oh, it was great. So it was only perfect that when he spent his last 8 months with me, I took care of him when he was sick, and we got to repair all the distance that had grown between us.
Yeah, because you had about a 40-year period of estrangement.
Exactly. And so we got close, and when he passed, he was cremated, and I took the ashes out to sea in Neptune in a boat, and it was me, my girlfriend, and just this young captain, and he stopped the boat where you can drop the ashes, and there was a sort of a little deck on the back of the ship, and he said, listen, I'll be up front, I'll leave you alone now and give you some privacy so you can, do what you'd like to do. And he walked up to the front of the boat, and it's such an odd moment. I'm saying goodbye to my father's ashes and returning him to the sea, the mother of us all, and I'm trying to say words, and tell him how much I love him, and I'm kneeling out the back of the boat, almost pouring the ashes, and this guy trots back from the front of the boat and says, hey, you were in Animal House. Say, what was it like working with Belushi? And the
last
ashes,
second Google right there.
the ashes are just about to drop, and I said, could you just give me a minute?
We have a long ride.
Well, Tim Matheson, damn glad to meet you. My 7 Decades in the Hollywood Trenches, published by Hachette. It comes out tomorrow, and the hardcover's $30, and it's worth every penny.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you for getting up early and
Yes.
visiting us.
Jim, it was a
Yeah,
pleasure.
we appreciate
It's
that.
great fun. Thank
Here
you.
at Q104.3.
New York's classic rock, Q1043.